Okay, so here we have 8.2 ellipses with the center at HK. And for horizontal ellipse, you're going to have x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. You're always going to have this equal to 1, and a squared is always the larger number. So if you have your a squared under the x, that's why it's horizontal, because x goes sideways. If you have your a squared under the y, it is vertical because y goes up and down. So a is always greater than b. With your vertices from a horizontal ellipse, you are adding and subtracting the a value to the h, the x value of your center. So that's going to give you h plus a and k. So h plus a comma k and h minus a comma k. For your co-vertices, they will go up and down, and you're adding the b value to the k, which is your y value of the center. So you're going to have h comma k plus b and h comma k minus b. Your major axis will be horizontal, same as the ellipse. Length is 2a. The minor axis is vertical, which is going to have a length of 2b. Your foci uses the value of c. C is found by doing c squared equals a squared minus b squared. And you have the foci going along the same axis as the vertices, so the major axis, and you're going to add and subtract c to the h. So you're going to have h plus c comma k and h minus c comma k for those points. Now let's look at the graph. As you can see here we do not have our center at the origin. So this is going to be HK. And you can see that it's a horizontal ellipse, which means you're going to add your A. Starting from the center, you'll just count your units 1, 2, 3, all the way to A. So you're going to have H plus A, comma K. And then starting at the center, you go to the left and you subtract your A. So H minus A, comma K. For B, you're going to count up from your center, so that is why you have H and K plus B. And counting down, you'll have H and K minus B. And again, your foci, you're going to start from the center and go the same direction, the horizontal. And you're going to add C, so you have H plus C, comma K. And you subtract, and you have H minus C, comma K. All right, let's look at the vertical. Now the vertical, the a squared, larger number, will be under your y. And that's going to be vertical, so you're going up and down. So your vertices go up and down from the center, and you're going to be adding and subtracting from the k. So you get h and k plus a, and h and k minus a. Your co-vertices will be going sideways, so you'll add your b value to h. So h plus b, comma k, and h minus b, comma k. Since this is a vertical ellipse, your major axis is vertical, and it is still the length of 2 times a. The minor is horizontal, which is going to have the length of 2b. In your foci, you're going to have the value of c going up and down with the vertical ellipse, and you'll get h and k plus c, and you'll have h and k minus c. And let's look at this graph. So starting from the center, your a values are going to be going up and down from the center. So A goes up, that's you have H and K plus A. Starting from the center and going down gives you H and K minus A. For your minor axis, you add your B. Going sideways, you're going to have H plus B, comma K. Going left, you're going to have H minus B, comma K. Your foci will also go up and down along the major axis. So you're going to have H and K plus C. And moving down, you're going to have H and K minus C. Well, K minus C. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Here we need to find the center, vertices, co-vertices, foci, and eccentricity of the ellipse. We want to determine the lengths of the major and minor axes and then graph. So here we have x minus 3 squared over 16 plus y plus 5 squared over 36. If we have x minus 3, the minus follows the formula, so we take a positive 3 for our center. Let me change this to a fine point here. So 3. And since this is y plus 5, that's the opposite of the formula, so I'm going to take a negative 5. So my center is 3, negative 5. For my vertices, I need to identify my a squared and my b squared. A squared is always the larger number, so this is going to be my a squared, which means a equals 6. The 16 is my b squared, which means b equals 4. And so my vertices, since a is under the y, this is a vertical ellipse, which means I'm adding a to the k value. So 3 and negative 5 plus 6 is 1. So 3, 1. And for my other vertice, I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to subtract the 6. So negative 5 minus the 6 is negative 11. For my co-vertices, those are going sideways. I'm going to add 4 to the h value. So 3 plus 4 is 7. And my k value will stay the same at negative 5. And then 3 minus 4 is negative 1. And again, the k value stays the same. So then we look at the major axis, which is going to be 2 times a, so 6 times 2 is 12. My minor axis is going to be 2 times b, so 2 times 4 is 8. So for my foci, I need to take c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Well, a squared is 36, b squared is 16. When I subtract 36 minus 16, I get 20. And the square root of 20 simplifies down to 4 times 5, and the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 times the square root of 5. And my foci are going to go up and down. So I keep my 3, and I write negative 5 plus 2 square root of 5. And I could put plus or minus right there, or I could write 2 separate points and have 3 comma negative 5 minus 2 square root of 5. My eccentricity is just taking the c value over the a value. So 2 square root of 5 over 6. I can simplify that to 1/3 and get square root of 5 over 3. Okay? And those are the values. Now I'm going to graph. So 3, negative 5 is right here. and let's see, 3, 1, and 3, negative 11. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops, I need one more here. 11. My co-vertices are 7, negative 5. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And negative 1, negative 5. And that's all I need for my graph. And let's go ahead and put that on there. And there's my ellipse. I'll make these points a little bit bigger. And we're done with that. Okay, let's look at this example. Find an equation for the ellipse that satisfies the given conditions. If we had the vertices at 5, 5, and 5, negative 1, if we think about that, we would have, okay, if we just kind of sketch this out, 5, 5, and 5, negative 1 would be there. My code vertices would be at 7, 2, and 3, 2. No, that's got to be wrong. Let me see here. Okay, so yeah, this is 5, negative 1 right here. And then 7, 2 is right here. And 3, 2 would be right here. And if I take a look at this, let's move this up a little bit because it's, all right. If I count my units here, I've got from negative 1 up to 5, that's 6 units. So that is 6. Going sideways, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So that's 4. So that's going to be a vertical ellipse, which is going to have x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared equals 1. And I have my a is 4. No, sorry. My a, if I divide the major axis by 2, I get 3. So a equals 3. If I take my minor and divide by 2, I get 2. So b equals 2, which means a squared is 9 and b squared is 4. My center, to find my center, if I take and draw the major and minor axis, I can locate my center right there, which is at 5 units on the x and 2 units on the y. So my center is 5, 2. And so I have x minus 5 squared over b squared, which is 4, plus y minus 2 squared over my a squared, which was 9, equals 1. And there's my equation. So it really helps to draw that out. Let's look at the vertices. The second equation, we have vertices at 22, 8 and negative 8, 8. And then we have foci, which is 7 square root of 161 plus the square root of 161 comma 8 and 7 minus the square root of 161 comma 8. And if we look at our vertices, the x value is what is changing. And remember, the vertices, if the x value is changing, that means I'm going left and right. So I have a horizontal ellipse. My center is right in the middle of that. So if I find the midpoint of this, knowing that my y value does not change. I did not move up and down. So I can see that my y value of my center is 8. And so what I need to do is just find the midpoint of my x. So I add these two together and divide by 2. So if I take 22 plus negative 8, that would be 14. Divide that by 2 and I get 7. So my center is at 7, 8. That's the purpose of them giving the vertices along with finding your value of A. So if I'm at horizontally, I go over here and I'm at 7, and on my point way over here is at 22 because these are the x values of my points, right, going sideways. So we go from 7 all the way to 22. How many units is that? Well, I could subtract 22 minus 7 and get 15. So A equals 15. For giving our foci, we're looking for the value of C. And if you look at your center, 7, 8, you have your 7 and you have your 8. And remember, your foci is taking and adding it, the C value, adding and subtracting the C value to H or K. Here, we're obviously adding to H. So my C value is the square root of 161. So I've got my A, I've got my C. Let's find B. We're going to use C squared equals A squared minus B squared. And so when you take square root of 161 and square it, you just have 161. A squared, 15 squared is 225 minus your B squared. So we could now solve this. We subtract the 225. Oops, 225. And that's going to give us negative B squared equals 64 negative. And then you divide by negative 1, and you get b squared equals 64, which means b equals 8, which actually we don't need. All we need is b squared. And we already know that a squared is 225. We have our center, h and k. So we've got everything we need. We've got h, we've got k, we've got a, and we've got b. And we said this is a horizontal ellipse. So our a squared is going to be under x. So x minus the 7 squared, x minus h, over a squared, which is 225, plus y minus k, which is 8 squared, over b squared, which is 64, equals 1. And there's our equation for that. And let's look at number 3, our last example here. If we've got an eccentricity of the square root of 3 over 2, that's the ratio that we have to remember. So if we think about, okay, here's the square root of 3 over 2, that's our possible C and A. Our vertices go from negative 4, 20 to negative 4, negative 2. So the negative 4 is H because it did not change. And this is a vertical ellipse. Going from 20 down to negative 2, that's a length of 22 units. 22 divided by 2 is 11. So that's finding the center because we're trying to find the midpoint. Oh wait, no, 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 my bad. Finding the midpoint would be 20 plus negative 2, divide that by 2. So it's 18 divided by 2, which is 9. So k equals 9. Um, Finding that distance between the two is finding your major axis. So that's what the 11 was. So 20 all the way to the negative 2, that's a length of 22 units. That's your major axis. So when you divide that by 2, That's your A value. You get 11. So we know that A is 11. So what we need to do is set this up as a proportion because A equals 11. We want to find what is C. Or not. We don't really need to, I guess. Yeah, we do. Because we need to use C to find the B squared. All right, so we're going to take 11 times the square root of 3 divided by 2, and that's our C value. Now that we have C at 11 times the square root of 3 over 2, we would put C squared equals A squared minus B squared. And we have, when you take 11 times the square root of 3 divided by 2, and then you square that, you will get 90.75, which is 90 and 3/4. And if you convert that to an improper fraction, that's 90 times 4 is 360 plus 3, so 363 over 4. So 363 over 4 is equal to A squared, and we said A is 11, right? So A squared, 121, minus B squared. So we're going to subtract 121 from, so we're going to subtract 121, and we get negative B squared equals negative 30 and 1/4. So B squared equals 30 and 1/4, which is 121 over 4. So that's our B squared. A squared we know is 121. So we've got A squared, we've got B squared, we've got our H and our K. So now we're ready to write our equation. And this is a vertical parabola, so the A goes under, or yeah, A squared goes under the K, or H, Y. So X minus a negative 4, so plus 4 squared over B squared, so that's the 121 over 4, plus Y minus K, so Y minus 9 squared over 121 equals 1. Now, we don't want to leave that as a fraction down there. If you're dividing by a fraction, you can multiply by the reciprocal, which means you're taking the 4 over the 121 fourths, and you're going to flip that. So 121 over 4 flips to 4 over 121 times your x plus 4 squared. Okay, and when you do that, it's really just 4 times x plus 4 squared over 121. So that bottom number basically goes right up to the top, and you get 4 times x plus 4 squared over 121 plus your y minus 9 squared over 121 equals 1. And there is our equation. And that's it.